Yes, good evening.
I call to order the special call for March 18, 2024. And I want to welcome all of the citizens to this meeting, city staff, invited guests, and others. Thank you for participating. I will now ask the clerk if you would please call the roll, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes.
Present.
Mr. Hugo.
Present.
Mrs. Lucas-Burke.
Here.
Mr. Moody.
Here.
Mr. Tillage.
Here.
Dr. Whitaker.
Present.
Mayor Glover.
Here. And citizens and ladies and gentlemen, we do have a need for a closed meeting. So I would ask at this time, Vice Mayor Lucas-Burke, if you would please read the closed meeting motion.
Certainly. I move to go into a closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code subsection 2.2-3711A1 for the purpose of discussing and considering prospective candidates for the position of city manager.
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes.
Yes.
Mr. Hugo.
Aye.
Mrs. Lucas-Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Moody.
Yes.
Mr. Tillage.
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker.
Yes.
Mayor Glover.
Yes, we are in closed session.
To the best of his or her knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened, were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting just concluded.
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes.
Yes.
Mr. Hugo.
Aye.
Mrs. Lucas-Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Moody.
Yes.
Mr. Tillage.
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker.
Yes.
Mayor Glover.
Yes, so we'll take a 5-minute recess and we'll join everybody under that. I call to order our public meeting, and I want to thank all of those in attendance, city staff, friends and family, citizens of the city of Portsmouth, and my colleagues on city council. We do have some additional business to conduct in order to complete this evening's meeting. And before we get to that business, however, I would ask all of my colleagues to please note your presence electronically.
7 members of City Council are present.
And we do have a need to have a motion to appoint, and also we will need a second for that motion.
I move to appoint Stephen Carter as city manager with a start date of April 22nd, 2024, and a salary of $255,000, and to authorize the Personnel Committee in consultation with the city attorney to negotiate and execute an employment contract.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item? Councilman Hugo, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. So rewind the clock to the discussion we had several months ago about appointing a permanent city manager, and a couple of us stood firm that we needed to do a nationwide search. That's been done. The good news is the search firm found 3 good, qualified candidates for us to vet and interview and choose from. And so even though it's my intention tonight to vote no for Mr. Carter because I felt that one of the other candidates, Ms. Terry, was a better candidate, that's not the direction we've decided to head. And so it's my intention to work with Mr. Carter when he arrives. He, like any other city manager, is going to need the full support of all of us on city council, and so it's my hope that we'll come together to provide him that support. I do want to thank our interim city manager, Ms. Terry, for more than a year of service as our interim city manager. You know, an interim person can be a seat warmer, holding down things until the final decision gets made. That's not the approach that Ms. Terry took to the interim assignment that she was given. She stepped into that assignment. She didn't spend her time sitting in her office. She got out see what was going on, and during the course of her time as our interim city manager, I think she accomplished quite a lot. But having said that, there are some in the community that will be happy with our decision tonight. Others in our community who will be disappointed with our decision tonight. But I would ask all of our community to get behind Mr. Carter when he comes aboard.
Mr. Moody, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Like my colleague, Councilman Hugel, we did have 3 candidates. Mr. Carter was my second choice behind Mimi, and I think Mimi can certainly leave City Hall with her head held high, knowing that she served the city and this city employees very admirably during her tenure. There were a lot of issues when she came in as an interim, and she wrapped her arms around those problems and got them resolved. And if you may, she righted the ship, and I think in that respect she did a tremendous job. And as most of us in this chamber realize, there are 2 parts of being city manager. There's one part of doing the job, and there's the other part, which is the political side. And that's a side that no city manager can control 100%. But I wish Ms. Terry the best. I know that she will excel in wherever she goes. I do know this. I do know she has shown all of us that her love for this city is substantial. She proved it every day, and I think from the employees coming out here this evening to show their support is evidence that she also valued the employees for the city of Portsmouth. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor Lucasberg.
Thank you, Mayor. Also would like to thank Ms. Terry for her time as our interim city manager. As we all know, when she was appointed interim city manager, that was a interim position. The day would ultimately come when we would have to make the decision to make the permanent decision. If you had asked me 12 months ago when we appointed her who my choice would have been, it would have been Mimi Terry. I didn't want to go a national search, but we did, and it gave us time to see some things that were different, some things that happened different in the community, some things that happened different with council, some things that happened different throughout city government. And ultimately, we had to make a decision through 3 best candidates, and they were all good candidates. It was a tough decision for us to make, but I believe at this time, the majority of council has chosen Mr. Carter to be the person who will move the city forward in our future. And I know that it was brought out in the community, so I'm going to dispel whatever myth that it is, that this is Women's History Month, and there were 3 votes to keep her and 3 votes to remove her, and that I was the swing vote, but I was not the swing vote, because Women's History Month is just what it is. It's Women's History Month. But we have a city to uphold, and we have citizens to protect, and we have a government to move forward in a positive way. And that helped to frame my decision to move forward with Mr. Carter. And I do wish Ms. Terry the best. She is Portsmouth homegrown. That's what I said in the beginning. But now that we have had some other choices, because our council decided to move with a national search, the national search proved that there are other candidates who can take on this position and move our city in a positive direction.
Thank you, ma'am. And I'll make the last comment, then we will take the vote. A few things come to mind when I think about Ms. Terry. I think about professionalism. I think about compassion. I think about a heart for the city in which she was born and raised and grew up in. I think about her commitment to her staff and how she worked diligently to raise the bar and bring us up to where we need to be. I think about the first staff appreciation event that we had last year that recognized so many of you who put in the work each and every day to make our community the best that it can be. I think about the lady who took the drive with some of my colleagues here on council throughout the community on many occasions to see what was actually happening in the community and how we can make it better. My personal relationship, because unfortunately, as the mayor, we all have to work closely together. And with Miss Terry, I have never met anyone that was more passionate, that was more caring, that was more concerned about the citizens of the city of Portsmouth. I would listen to her stories about her mama and her daddy and all those people that are in our city. But the other part, I would listen to her when there were difficulties and things to overcome. And I will say this, as the mayor of the city of Portsmouth, Miss Terry didn't get the support that she deserved. She came here as an interim, and that woman went to work. She did a couple of amazing things, I think. She is going to help us transform this waterfront by her actions, by her diligency and understanding numbers and financial markets. She was able to steer us in a wonderful direction and continue our financial solvency here in the city of Portsmouth. Through her acumen of dealing with different people from different places, she was able to bring other stakeholders on board. Our city has lost something today. Whether or not you believe that, and we can talk about candidates, she was the best qualified of the candidates. And as a result, she was someone who I think put her heart and soul into our city. We've got a long way to go, but stability is one of those things that you should always strive for. We have had a lot of turnover in this city. And I share with my colleagues, if you think that you're going to bring someone else into this city and they're going to do a whole better job and not make any missteps, well, you probably are not thinking right. Sometimes you've got to understand what you're in and who you're with. And you need to understand how you go forward is by sticking behind that person and showing them that you appreciate their commitment, their loyalty, and their caring for their community. So Ms. Terry will flourish because that's who she is. And she will always have my support because not only was she our interim city manager who stepped up, but I consider her a friend, like many of you out there. And one thing about me, when you're my friend, you're my friend. Thank you very much. And Mr. Barnes, sir, you have the floor.
I just want to, for the record, and make sure that the news understand and the citizens understand, this is not a firing. She was the interim city manager, and she was here for a time until we found the new city manager. But we're not firing anybody, we're appointing somebody new. I just wanted to say that because I just saw something on Facebook that said we were firing another city manager. We're not firing another city manager. We're appointing a new city manager. There was a process that she went through along with the candidate that's being chosen and some more people. And this was what the majority of council did after that process that went through, that the majority of council, all 7 members voted to go with that process, that nationwide search, and this was the result from that search. I just want everybody to know in the news when you report it, we're not firing anybody. This is not a firing. This is appointing a new city manager.
Thank you, sir. And I would ask my colleagues to please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 4-3.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are in need of another motion. So Vice Mayor Lucas Burke, would you please read the motion?
Yes. I move to authorize the Personnel Committee to execute a contract with the Berkeley Group for the provision of interim city manager services at the rate of $210 per hour, effective immediately upon negotiation of final contract terms by the Personnel Committee in consultation with the Office of the City Attorney.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, I would ask my colleagues to please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 5-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, if there's no more business to conduct from my colleagues on council, this meeting is adjourned.